there everybody, this is DrunkGuma1645. Welcome back to more of the extra videos of Let's Play Lost Odyssey. Today we will be continuing our way through all these dreams, and there's 11 left to go through. I think that, dang it, I keep hitting the dang hanger that's hanging right behind me on my closet door. So if you hear any background noises, it was from that, and I'm terribly sorry about that. So, yeah, last time I counted from all the dreams we have left to read, there's, I think, 11 left. So, let's get started with this one. I think it's pronounced Elegy Island. Then again, I don't know for sure. Feel free to correct me in the comments section below. This happened a long, long time ago on a small island which has since perished. They have had an odd custom. They mourned their dead with song, with elegies. Elegy Island? I have no clue how that's pronounced. The songs would play without ceasing from the last moment before death through the funeral to the brutal. Elegies would be sung for many purposes: to ease the grief of the family, to recall the legacy of the deceased, to appease the soul of one who died under stressful circumstances, to celebrate one person's having lived to a ripe old age, or to evoke anger at another's pointless death. There were no fixed melodies or lyrics. Apparently, the songs were sung without lyrics at all. And to tell the truth, the song actually sounds really beautiful. No documents have survived, so all we can do is assemble oral histories. Sighs the archaeologist as she views the island from the deck of the ship. The people on that island had no writing system, which means they had no way to leave behind signs or evidence of their lives. I wish we could at least interview a few survivors, but if there weren't any, every person was killed. I think that's how you say it. Whatever. The research team's archaeologist is a young woman in her 20s. Her country is the one that destroyed the island. It happened while her ancestors 7 generations back were still young people. I hate to badmouth my own country, she says with a shrug, but they really didn't have to go that far. That far is no exaggeration. Her country prided itself on its overwhelming military force. For it to gain mastery over the tiny island would have been as simple as twisting at an infant's arm. But her country believed in oppressing its neighbors with force. The leaders were thinking more of those neighbors than on the island itself when it launched an all-out attack. The island was a mere object lesson. It was scorched from end to end. Every human being on the island, from newborn babies to elders on the verge of death, was killed without mercy. Wow. Okay, these people, I wouldn't say they're worse than Gongora, but I have to say, they're getting up there. It's odd enough, says the young woman with a grim smile, that's what I meant to say, sorry. There are hardly any records left from the time, even in our country. I suppose what they did was terrible. They didn't want their descendants to know about it. Her remark prompts some old scholars on board to clear their throats at the sound of which she snaps her mouth shut. Sorry, she whispers. You're not much older than I am. You probably don't want to hear about all this old stuff anyway. I do, though. What interest can a sailor like you have in these boring academic matters? Kiam only shakes his head in silence. Suddenly things become very busy on deck. The boat is approaching the island and has entered a stretch of intricate channels where the skills of the crew will be tested. The boat swing. The boat swing? I have no clue. Whatever. This person calls Kiam. Oh, I'm sorry, the woman says. I shouldn't be monopolizing your time. You got work to do. Even as she apologizes, the talkative young archaeologist asks Kiam, "Do you mind if I ask you one last question?" "Please, ask away," he replies, stopping in his tracks. She looks around to make sure no one is listening and whispers, "I'm sure this is your first time taking the research team over." "Uh-huh. And your first time going to the island?" "Well, yes. So you probably don't know about some of the bad stories they tell you about this place. That some scholars will go there, fall under a curse, like they get sick while doing their research on the island, or they become mentally unstable after they get home. I've heard some even killed themselves." "You mean a long time ago, right?" "Right. This is the first research trip in 50 years. Up to then, every time they sent out a team, one or two of the members would suffer the curse. This is why they put a stop to them all these years. So I'm a little scared myself." She seems a mock shudder through her body. Dang it, I worded that wrong again. She sends a mock shudder through her body. "I just thought I'd ask if you could teach me some magic spell for getting back safely." Kiam looks straight at her, not merely talking in her appearance, but searching for a person deep inside. "You'll be fine," he says. "You think so?" "I'm pretty sure you'll be okay." She looks at him questioningly. "If you hear singing, though," he adds, "hum along with it." "What do you mean?" she asks, her expression increasingly uneasy, but Kiam says nothing more. "Get over here now, mister!" the boatswain shouts at Kiam, who heads for his station. He did tell the woman one white lie, though. This is not his first time coming to the island. He has been here many times before. His first trip happened a long time ago. As the archaeologist said, the island's elegies have no fixed melody or lyrics. They were all sung I don't know what the word is, and never repeated. 100 deaths required 100 elegies, nor did mourners agree in advance on the nature of the elegy before they started singing. At first, each would sing his or her own, expressing his or her own feelings about the deceased. Eventually, the jumble of songs would come together in a single melody without any one singer taking the lead. In the culture of this island, there is no writing. There was, of course, no musical notation. There were no instruments for accompaniment either, or whatever the hell the word is, I don't know. Each mourner, in grieving for the loved one, would give vows to hope for a peaceful last journey, and a song would emerge. Kiam's travels first brought him when the island was at peace, which is to say, centuries ago. He happened to arrive just after the death of a village elder. For 3 days and nights, an elegy was sung around the clock. The island people's song, which shook the darkness and I don't know what the word is, sorry. All across the clear blue daytime sky, left its mark with a certain in the blooming comfort in the breast of Kiam? Okay, that was kind of worded wrong, but I don't care. A man for whom fate had declared that no one would ever sing an elegy. To think that such an island has been burnt to the ground. The people fell in all directions at once and were murdered one at a time. It was an absolute bloodbath. Kiam knows about the whatever the hell the word is that accompanied the butchery. Things that were not handed down to the generation of the young archaeologist. Had it wished to, the woman's country could have taken control of the island in a single night, but instead it used its military power to chase down each of the island's inhabitants over a period of several days if carefully filling in the black spaces of the coloring book. Or blank spaces, sorry. The island became enveloped in elegies, or I don't know. At first, while the living still outnumbered the dead, voices in elegy song all but shook the island with their volume. As the days went by, however, and the dead came to outnumber the living, the sobbing voices in song grew even fainter. When the battle reached its final phase, the few remaining islanders who had been cornered in the island's northern tip fled into a large cave. They resigned themselves to death. All that was left to them was pray that they might be allowed to die with some degree of peace. But even this small measure of hope they were unable to right from their attacks. Or ring. Whatever. Sorry. The army of the archaeologist's country went for maximum brutality. They entered the cave with every weapon at their command, and they dragged out and killed one islander per day. Today it was an old man. The next day it was a young man. The day after they tortured to death a young mother with an infant at her breast, and the following day, the infant they tore from her arms was put to death. The elegies resounded without interruption. The same voices that escaped from the caves invaded the ears of the soldiers who were carrying the massacre. Those soldiers with kind hearts collapsed on one another, or they went mad and left the front line. Song was the final weapon of the islanders, who had no other means to fight. They went on singing as they struggled against starvation, thirst, and their own fears. The commanding officers of the anti-insurgency force ordered his men to fill in the mouth of the cave. If they buried the people alive, he thought, the singing would no longer be audible. Nevertheless, faint singing continued. It went on day after day. Rainy days, clear days, daytime, nighttime, it continued, but no longer without breaks, with gradually increased in length. The singing went beyond being an elegy from a single person to became a song suffused with the sorrow of all the living things on the island. About the time the season ended, the last thin thread of singing died out. The army left the island. Not a single record of these military operations was left. Never again did anyone come to live on this island, or on the island. Sorry. The first research team in 50 years is plagued by difficulties. One scholar after another collapses. Almost every day someone is sent out on a vessel anchored offshore, sick. All of the scholars moan with pain, blocking their ears. The situation is exactly what it was before the island was sealed off from research. Kiam knows exactly what is happening. The ocean breeze sweeping across the island sounds like a song. The branches swaying in the forest sounds like a song. The birds in the trees sound like a song. The babbling of a brook sounds like a song. The treating of boats on piled fallen leaves sounds like a song. The crashing and receding of waves on the shore sounds like a song. The elegy of the island that people sang with every last bit of life they could do, whatever the hell the word is, up from the inside themselves, now is being sung by the island itself. Please stop, I beg you, please stop! The scholar cries out to their, whatever the hell the word is, covering their ears. I don't know what we did if it was our ancestors, not us. The scholars who moan this hear anger and sorrow in the consistency resounding elegy. What they say is true. It's not their fault. But they have been given no knowledge of what happened on the island so long ago. Sometimes not knowing can be profound sin. They should pick up their ears and listen all the more. This is what Kiam has always done. The elegy have sung by the island is not merely hurling hatred and anger at them. The island is not trying to torture members of the young generation like them who are without sin. Rather than blocking their ears, they should listen. If they do so, the message will reach them. For the island is telling them, you must know the truth. You must know what actually happened on this island so long ago. The investigation ends much earlier than originally planned. Most of the research team have returned to the ship, their health broken, and some of the more seriously ill members have been sent home. It is no longer possible to continue the work. The young archaeologist who spoke to Kiam on the way in is one of the few who have preserved to the end. Thanks to you, she says to Kiam. Sorry. As soon as she climbed from the launch onto the ship, she saw Kiam standing on deck and hurried over to him. She looked haggard, but her faintage is clearly less physical than mental. Still, her eyes harbor a strong-willed gleam. Did you hear the singing? He asked. I did, she says with a nod, looking back at the receding island. It was so sad. Just as he thought she was able to open herself to the sadness. Did you sing along with it? Yes, I did that too, partly because of what you said to me, but I also found myself humming the same tune quite naturally. Kiam nods and smiles at her. This is the first time he has encountered anyone with the heart to hear the island's elegy. This time, when I get home, she says, I want to do some more serious research on the war. It's something I have to do. I always feel I don't have any choice in the matter. I'm glad to hear that, he says. I might turn up some facts that my country finds inconvenient, but I feel it is absolutely necessary to learn the truth, to know what actually happened. The ship emerges into the open sea. A single white bird flies from the island as if seeing the ship off on its journey. Tracing a great arc against the blue sky, it releases one high, ringing cry. No longer an elegy, this is a song of joy and forgiveness, signaling the dawn of a new age. The end.